Well, given that it's 11:04, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I call this meeting to order. Thank you all for attending this morning. Welcome, December. So the recording secretary will now take roll. Ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Rivera. Board Member Anderson. Present. Board Member Boswell is absent. Board Member Myers.
Present.
Thank you. And Board Member Rentiera. Present. And Board Member Sweet is absent. And then Chair Riviero.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exception of Board Member Sweet and Boswell.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to item 2, we want to go ahead and since we have someone joining us remotely, I'm going to go ahead and read through remote participation under AB 2449. I forgot my glasses, but here we go. So to consider and take action on any request from a board member to participate in a meeting remotely due to just cause of emergency circumstances pursuant to AB 2449. Do I need to read the government code? Crystal?
No, you don't.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. So moving on to item number 3, modifications to the agenda. This time is to announce any changes to the agenda due to unforeseen circumstances.
I don't think we have any modifications to the agenda, Chair.
Well, let's move on. Now we have this opportunity for public comments, which is item 4. So this is a time when any person may address matters not listed on this current agenda, but which are within the subject matter of jurisdiction. The public may comment on agenda items when the item is called. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. Do you have any public comments? Seeing that there's none, we'll move on to item number 5, which is approval of minutes. We have a set of minutes from our September 26, 2024 meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Seeing that there's none, the minutes for the meeting held on September 26, 2024 are approved as submitted. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6. Already on to number 6. New business. All right, so we have item 6.1, event support goals and strategies. And I'd like to, let's see, Scott, you will. All right, so we had a falling off.
Yeah.
Janelle.
All right, Scott, whatever you want. I mean,
Yeah.
No
Fell
glass.
off the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for grabbing that. Chair Rivero, I'm actually going to turn it over to our Arts and Culture Coordinator, Meredith Newsom, to lead us through this discussion.
Thank you.
So for our next application deadline, the applications will be opening February 1st through March 31st. Those will be for events July 1 through December 31st. And this last round, as you know, we did a little more social media marketing as a strategy to get new events that have to apply. We had about 65% of the applications were new events, which was great. We spent about only $500 on Facebook advertising. And we advertised to Los Angeles, Seattle, Austin, Sonoma County, Portland, and San Jose with ads on social media to get their destination event here in Santa Rosa that we could help with the services. So I'd like to today discuss this next round and even just long-term our goals for these events. I know the discussion before has been, is this seed funding or is this long-term funding? Because those are issues that we're running into with these large events that we're continually funding. We want to make room for other events, small and large, to get their start here in Santa Rosa. So I'd like to open up the discussion of what you feel some good goals and strategies could be for this next round, this coming year.
Let's open up the item for discussion. Questions?
So I personally am not a fan, and this is just me, of certain events that are making money, applying for grants year after year after year after year. I personally would like to see more smaller, like you said, smaller events get their footing here and launch, like the Santa Rosa Marathon comes to mind, for example. Did we help them, or was that the?
We did it.
Yeah, we did. I think we helped them in the beginning, and now I think they may have still applied, but I mean, they're pretty much self-sustaining at this point, from my understanding. I could be wrong. Yeah, it just seems to me that, and then the other thing is these larger events that have funding, the way the question was set up, or the way the parameters were set up, that were, okay, do they have funding for staff? Do they have this, that, and the other? To me, it seemed more difficult for the small guy trying to get started to get the money. Whereas if you're monster trucks or whatever, and you have all this funding and stuff already, then they met all the parameters. Okay, yeah, it's not gonna be used for staff, it's not gonna be used for this, it's not gonna be used for that. But to me, I'd rather see the small guy or the organizations that really need the help get it, rather than for-profit organizations. I mean, they're all, I guess, for-profit at some point, but I mean, I don't know, the smaller guy, I guess, is what I would like to see personally, but I don't know if that's.
Are you also suggesting that modifications are made to that application, since you mentioned
I would-
the way it's questioned and?
The way that it's weighted, and yeah, some of the questions, I think, if we revisited that, I think it would be good.
That will be in item 6.2, actually, we're going through
Let's
those
hold
questions
off
as
on
well.
that one.
So just, yeah, but I agree.
Now that you have anything to?
No, other than I just like to see some new events brought to town.
New events, whether they're large or.
Sporting events, we used to have more sporting events, now we don't have much of anything coming.
Chair Janelle has her hand up as well.
Yes, Janelle.
Yeah, so I think, so what Meredith is talking about is strategies, and which, I do think we really do need to chat about. I'd like to, hear more about some of the marketing campaigns that you did and see how we could maybe, do those together. More of what we do is, Lindsay will go out to like a trade show and try to get large events that way, or we are on some we do have some subscriptions that get us into like software that shows us, different sporting events that are looking for locations. And what Todd is talking about is important as well. I think, so the topic is bringing in new events, but it seems like on the last round, we didn't fund any new events. So I guess, that's, more of what I'd like to talk about is, strategy and yeah, why we didn't fund new events, and and going forward, how we can bring in the type of events with our strategy that Todd's talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think I said like 4 different things there, but
I also.
Hold on, I'll open up for the.
We'll call for
Oh,
public
yeah.
comments.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sure. No,
I
you're
would-
fine. We'll make sure
I
you get
would
a
like-
chance.
I would like to if we can give Lindsay a chance to chat about it, because she's had a lot of experience with those individual event requests and then the recap. So I know it can only come at a certain time because she's not technically on the board, but I feel like she has some really good insight on that as well.
Chair, before we move to public comment, it might be helpful for the discussion if our art and culture coordinator goes through all the events that were funded this year, so we can contrast that to some of the feedback that we're receiving from the board.
Absolutely, yeah, could you please provide that feedback?
So-
Input.
Yeah, we did actually have 7 new events funded this last round. We had Wine Country Face Off, which we funded 12,000. Cheese Fest, 10,000, which I know had applied before. Country Summer, 25. Growlers hockey season, which was new, 25,000. Antique Fair, 6,000. Beer City, 6,000. Sharing Institute, which was 4,000, that's a new event. Storytelling Festival, 4,000, a new event. Railroad Square Music Festival, 2,000. SoCal Market, 500, and Luther Burbank Holiday, a new event at 500.
I think most of those were funded by the community events fund. Is that correct?
No, those,
The new
that's
ones,
the,
sorry, the new ones.
oh, in the past?
No, the ones that you said are new, those were,
Those, yes, are funded by the SRTVIA, by both of us.
okay.
Yeah, so the ones that Meredith just read off were funded by the SRTBI event support program.
3, 4. So that means only 4.
Oh, man.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 were past events.
Okay, 4 were passed.
And 7 were new events.
All right, yeah, so let's open it up for public comment.
So, so I think 2 things. One, I think there needs to be a look at seed funding events as well as long-term funding events. Some of the long-term funded events like the Cheese Festival, Country Summer, those are very large drivers of out of the area visitation and really do drive heads and beds. Whereas I think almost all of the new funded events that came through are being produced locally. They are not events coming from out of the area. They're also going to drive local visitation, not out of the area visitation. So the likelihood that they're going to generate heads and beds is fairly small. And also the viability and long-term, you know, the Antique Fair is the one that comes to mind. That is being produced by, I think, the gentleman who runs the Bat Cave in Railroad Square. He wants to do it the same weekend as the Rose Parade, if it is actually happening again in 2025, I'm not sure. But again, I think it's gonna have a really hard competition, and whether it's really going to be successful as they have applied for is unclear. As far as some of the other events, so Face Off, Growlers, Beer City, those are all sporting events. The Beer City has been funded in the past. Again, minimal heads and beds, but it's a good event. The Growlers is a season, a hockey season, and Meredith and I have had a previous conversation about sports funding these types of sporting events versus like a marathon or the triathlons that have been here in the past. And one of the goals for us in 2025 is to discuss and hopefully implement a true sports commission. Again, that's a very early and preliminary conversation, but so then that way sporting events kind of automatically is pulled out of this discussion and out of this pot. As far as, you know, should the SRTBIA be funding like the Growlers hockey season, or, you know, those are all very much up for debate. And I think my inclination is, if the answer is yes, and then like that opens that discussion to all of our amateur, you know, or semi-professional sporting teams that are local, and what really is that really the best use of that money versus like large scale sporting events that are bringing people from out of the area for, you know, a weekend or 2 weekends and driving again the heads and beds. So and then for the long-term funding, you know, Country Summer again is a big driver. Their sponsorship dollars are usually actively used for example, Country Music Television was here last year, or in 2024. the ROI and the exposure of Santa Rosa for that was, like 7 million views. That's where that money is going. That is money well used.
It's good insight. Janelle, you have your hand up.
Oh, yeah, sorry again, it's me. Yeah, so, thanks Lindsay for just providing the additional, backstory, but also I think, back to the strategy, we found that, there was a couple, I know we'll talk about the questions and, later on, but, on the application, but there's a couple groups that Lindsay and I had both done some outreach to that, didn't get funded. And so I think it'd be, interesting to, add into the questionnaire, like, where did you hear about this event support program? And who, so that, we're not out there, maybe Lindsay and I think it's going to bring overnight stays, but, some people from the city don't, but, how do we really know until, we give them a shot? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe we need to have a little bit more discussion on the strategy and, do it more together than, separate, I guess, so that we're on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you, Janelle. All right, well, that kind of segues into our next item, which is 6.2, event support application, evaluation and scoring. And just for some background, we've gone through several changes this past year and a half. We have some new strategies implemented, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Meredith.
Thank you. So today we'd like to review our current scoring questions, some suggested application questions, and also get some suggestions on the scoring questions on how we could do better. And also discuss the review process of the applications. First, we have our 3 scoring questions. The first one is, how well does the event meet the authorized uses of BIA funding to promote and encourage tourism, which will benefit the operators of lodging establishments paying assessments through the promotion of scenic, recreational, cultural, and other attractions designed to increase overnight visits to the area. The second one is, how well does the proposed use of event funds meet guidelines for eligible expenses, which are city services, venue fees, advertising, event marketing inside or outside the area designed to promote the overnight visits. And the third one is, how well does the proposed use of event funds meet the guidelines? The funding should not be a sole source of funding for the event and or used for the organization's staff, employee wages, or salaries. So those are the 3 current questions that we have. When our team reviewed these, one of our suggestions was adding in how well did it meet the criteria for the percentage of attendees outside of the area. And so I'd love to get your input on that. The other items are, we reviewed the application questions and was adding in what type of steps are they taking to become self-sustaining was one. And then also to indicate what grant amount and year was received from the city of Santa Rosa if they have received funding in the past. So one of the issues we're running into is that they may not receive SRTBI funding, but they may be receiving community promotions or a CAB grant as well and applying for all of them. So we'd like to understand if they've been receiving money in the past as well for some of these. So more of a detailed account of that. And then the other item we'd like to address is the selection panel versus board review. So I know in the past that 2 SRTBA members have gone to sit on a selection panel, and the selection panel met and then brought forth the recommendation to SRTBA board to review. This last round, and I believe the last year or 2 maybe, it's been where everyone does virtual scoring, and then we bring forth the recommendation for discussion here at the meeting. So looking at other ways that we could possibly meet offline and have these discussions with 2 of the board members and additional selection panel members to have full discussions, possibly more than an hour on these applications to bring back to the board for discussion or recommendation.
All right, thank you, Meredith. I'd like to open up the item for discussion or questions.
I like that idea of yeah, just having more discussion instead of just, yeah, sitting behind the screen and scoring them to the best of our knowledge when we, always.
And through the chair, if I may, creates more opportunity to have more in-depth review and analysis around a particular application without it having to happen in a public meeting. But it still comes to the SRTVIA board for discussion. So an SRTVIA board member could choose still to review or discuss any particular recommendation or application. But instead of bringing them sort of blind, if you will, to the body for review, it comes already with a set of recommendations that would have been developed by this committee, if you will, sort of an application review committee. It helps to streamline it a little bit, and it also helps to keep some of the breadth and depth of the application discussion outside of a Brown Act forum. It's just really more efficient, and we've seen it operate this way in other bodies and other boards, and it seems to work really well. And it's also something you can try, and if you don't like it, go back to the old way too.
Like a preparation step, and then we have the actual discussion, in a public setting.
I'd be for that, I think. I wasn't really a fan of the online scoring. There was a couple questions in there and some weights that I didn't feel were weighted as much as heads and beds as I would have liked. And I know I mentioned that, I don't remember. And they did change the weighting of the answers and stuff, which I appreciated very much. But like to Lindsay's point, as far as bringing heads and beds, I don't feel like the questions were really set up for that. Like on question 2, like we're saying, well, how much of that is going to marketing in the area? If we're trying to bring heads and beds, why are we spending money marketing to locals? I feel that money should be spent outside of the area to try to bring people into the area. That the storytelling one that we supported comes to mind. I would be very curious to see if anyone came from out of town for that. I kind of doubt it personally, but I don't know. I bump my head a lot, so I mean, because why I don't know that.
I just, a lot of those questions on there, I felt like I was being put in a corner. I was just like being cornered. I didn't like that part. Yeah, it's just feel like we don't have control like we used to.
I also think for reoccurring events that there should be some sort of accountability for how many
How long?
nights or how many rooms they actually brought in. We've supported some of these events for years and years. And yet we don't know how many room nights they're actually bringing in. They'll say the ones that are good or that have done the support applications before, I feel know how to answer the questions. Oh yeah, 95% are coming from outside the area. Well, shenanigans. I don't see that. I haven't seen anyone coming to this event staying in my hotel. Doesn't mean they're not. It just, I haven't seen it. I guess I'm kind of where what Lindsay was saying, that we need to really focus on bringing more people into the area. The marketing outside of the area, I think is good. I wasn't sure if you said Seattle when you mentioned those other cities. That might be what I would consider.
Oh, yes, I did. Sorry,
Okay,
we did
cool.
Seattle.
Yeah, I just think we need to be more focused on putting heads in beds.
And
Yeah, that's something that we would implement in the application.
Yeah.
Right.
through the chair, these discussion items, I guess maybe to help frame the conversation today, staff is preparing recommendations to come to your board for some procedural changes and application changes. And this discussion is intended to help inform that. And so we will be bringing some recommendations back. A lot of the things that you're talking about, seed funding for new events, limiting how long someone can continue to get funding for a well-established event. Those are things we're talking about as staff. And it sounds in line with the feedback we're receiving here. So we will be bringing in the future as an actual action item for your board to vote on some of these changes that Meredith is talking about.
Janelle, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to second, yeah, the, fact that we should absolutely, include the, event recap information in our decision for reoccurring events. And just to let everybody know, Visit Santa Rosa is looking into, well, we are like 95% sure we're going to be bringing on this event impact calculator tool through Destinations International that will help us show the economic impact of some of these events. Instead of just going off of what the event recap says. I think that'll help in our decision process for recurring events too. Not just
Thank
showing
you.
the heads and beds, but also the other economic impacts that some of these events have.
I'd like to open it up, the item for public comments.
So in regards to evaluation and scoring, yes, I think when I first started, I think originally it had mentioned that the funding could only be used for marketing outside of the area. And then it was just in, I think, a more recent update when everything was being reviewed that it was, the verbiage was changed to inside and outside of the area. But obviously I think if the goal, right, is for these funds to be driving outside impact, then I don't know what is mandated and required to be included in the verbiage, but it would make sense that it goes back to being focused for outside marketing efforts and not internal, because you're correct, Todd, that it's not going to drive heads and beds. Storytelling, for example, the conversation that I've had with them, they're looking for hotel rooms for some of their speakers. That's going to be maybe 5 rooms, for maybe 2 nights. That's the same with, I think there's another like poet one. So again, that's like, while that's lovely and great, that's not what the hope and goal is, right? Like that's not what Iron Man does. That's not what it's been country summer. In regards to proof of heads and beds, again, we've had some really robust conversations on what should be required. Again, one of the conversations that I was having with Adam from Turkey Trot, who also does Beer City, is the hotels who wish to participate in providing either a room block or a discounted rate is sending a specific trackable link that they can, embed on their website so they can see website traffic and show the number of clicks. And then, because there is a specific code, whether that's a promo code or a direct link that is taking them to a custom room package, then the hotel can also provide reporting back to those event coordinators so that we can actually see what actually was booked and confirmed. So, trying to really drive home the importance of providing that detail, both to the event organizer and to any hotel partner that is going to participate, has been a big part of my conversation with this last round of funding.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any further discussion? Anything else, Meredith? Again, like Scott mentioned, we'll come back with recommendations. There'll be
January meeting, we
Questions,
can do
feedback.
questions for scoring in the process.
Yeah.
I think we'll take some consideration and put that together for January meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on to item 6.3, assessment funded activities, and I'm not sure if we made copies of the ordinance, but I think Scott is gonna take this item.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I do have copies of the ordinance. The ordinance was not attached to the agenda. However, the ordinance is already a public document and it's gone through public process It's also available online. Lindsay, would you like a copy of the ordinances?
I think it's, oh, sure, I'll take it.
Okay. But as staff continue and Janelle, we can email you a copy.
I can also give her one.
Okay, there's one for Janelle. So as staff is diving into how to promote overnight stays in the area, we're doing benchmarking and we're looking at how other tourism improvement districts throughout the state are spending their assessments. It seems predominantly that in Santa Rosa, we're using most of our assessment money for events. However, in looking at the ordinance, it does seem clear that the funding, which is generated through lodging assessments and which funds the SRTDIA, can be used for a whole host of other types of operational activities aside from events to help promote tourism and to help promote heads and beds. Taking a look at the ordinance, which was established or adopted in 2010, and for the record, it's ordinance number 3946. The authority of the SRTDIA is to make recommendations for assessments and those funds to be used for a number of activities. And I'm going to read under the authorized uses section, which is 6-56.290, which is on page 4 of 10. And if you look at the bottom paragraph under authorized uses, and you look at about halfway through that paragraph, I'll read the following. Revenues from assessments shall, meaning must, be used to conduct marketing activities, and marketing activities is capitalized, designed to increase overnight visits to the area. So it's very clear that overnight visits to the area is what the must and shall be for the use of the funding. Revenues from assessments may also be used for programs, services, and activities inside or outside the area if such programs, services, and activities are designed to promote and encourage overnight visits to the area. If we look at the definitions section of the ordinance, which we actually have to go back a page, we go back to page 3. Under section 6-56.270, halfway through the page, marketing activities is defined. Marketing activities means activities designed to market the area as a tourist destination, including the expenditure of funds to place advertising in any media, conduct public relations campaigns, perform marketing research, promote conventions and trade shows, and foster improved contacts within the travel industry for the purpose of promoting tourism within the area. One such example that we pulled from another community and how they use their assessment funding is placing ads at Giants games, for example. It doesn't necessarily mean that your board should or might want to place ads at Giants games, but I think what it does mean is that your board has a lot of flexibility, and going back to board member Renteria's comments about control, I think aside from events, your board has much more flexibility in how to make recommendations for the use of this funding for other activities, including events, which will promote overnight stays into the area. And we would like to, along with some of the other recommendations that we're going to be bringing to your board, bring forth a host of potential activities that your board could fund. And from that today, we wanted to get some of your thoughts and your insights as to, are there other things that you think maybe we should be using this assessment funding for, aside from events, to bring more tourists into the city? And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I'd like to open the item up for discussions or questions. No, we haven't looked at the ordinance in a while, but it's a good refresher and a reminder for what those funds are intended for as they are specified in the ordinance.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, permission to speak?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Janelle. I see your hand.
I
Go
think,
ahead.
one thing that, really the only thing that this board does to, report out on what we do is our, our annual report. And as we've talked about a lot, Raphael, we could do way more with that. I think that Visit Santa Rosa does a lot of things on our own outside of the SRTBIA that this board, doesn't even see. And so, and we do quarterly stakeholder meetings that, and I have, hundreds of slides, that talk about what we do to promote overnight stays in Santa Rosa. And sometimes it's not like a direct, it's hard to show a direct correlation between a marketing initiative and an overnight stay, of course. But one thing I'd like to talk about is, potentially doing like a economic impact report for the whole organ, like the Santa Rosa, SRTBA, like all of it. Because I feel like we get this question a lot, like, what are you doing to promote overnight stays? And it's like, well, we are doing all of these things, but I think it's hard to show the true impact without, all the data to support it. It's not just overnight stays.
Thank you.
I know they're important though, Todd. I know that's important. I just think that there is a, Visit Santa Rosa does, our own marketing and sales initiatives, and then we have this program. And so I feel like the full breadth of what we do with the funding does not show up in these meetings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm actually glad we're having these discussions because you see, I came on to the division in 2018, and I've been participating in these meetings, and it's always been just about event support,
Right.
And annual report once a year, and shifting some of the board members and such. Other than that, we haven't really talked about the expansion of what other things would also be included as part of, not just as part of this meeting, but also part of the funding. Any thoughts?
Never seen an ad at a Giants game and decided, oh, I'm gonna go there.
We actually did do some advertising at the Giants this year.
To the chair, to your point, that was just an example.
No,
It could be sending people to trade shows. It could be running an ad in the Visit California Journal, which goes to like a broader audience. Placemaking, it could be public art. It could be potentially, if you can draw the comparison, it could be funding an entertainment or sports project if it draws people in from out of the area. I think staff would just like the SRTBIA board to not necessarily limit itself and know that there are a lot of possibilities. And whereas other tourism improvement boards typically are much more involved in strategy and overseeing the strategic implementation of these funds, it does seem as though the SRTBIA board of late has been sort of relegated just to reviewing and approving events. We think there's a lot more that you could be doing if you have that interest.
I'm just kind of going out my hotel personally. It seems like and I know there was COVID and the economy and all that stuff, but it seems like over the last 5 years or so, the number of leads I'm getting for out of town groups, whether it be sports events, weddings, whatever, it's just declined. I mean, I think I've gotten this year, maybe it's starting to pick back up a little, but it just seems like I used to have leads all the time for sporting groups and stuff and for weddings and this, that, and the other. And it seems like as of the last several years, that number of people wanting to bring groups into the area is declining, at least for my property.
No, I see that also.
So the problem I have with and I know Giants game is just an example, but anything like that, it's hard to track. I mean, whether or not it's actually beneficial, at least in my opinion. I've never seen an ad on TV for come visit North Carolina or whatever, Indiana in the middle of everywhere and whatever state that is, Illinois, and wanted to go, oh, I want to go to Illinois. That's just me. I think targeting specific areas that we can track is more beneficial, but then again, I'm just one person. and I don't know everything, or. But that's just my thought off the top of my head without thinking about it.
The chair, if I may ask, are there types of things that you would like to see SRTDI funding used for, aside from events, to attract tourists to the area?
Besides ads.
Not off the top of my head, I mean. Anything that's successful, I think would be great. Off the top of my head, nothing's jumping out at me. But, I mean, if there was something that we could do that was proven to bring people into the area, I think would be great. I just don't know if, I mean, like, for example, and I know you didn't mean this specifically, I'm not trying to, oh, well, you said Giants games, but I mean, that's people within the area.
Yeah.
I don't think local marketing within the area that people are gonna drive like monster trucks. I've raised 3 boys. And I've been to 100 monster truck events. I've never stayed a night out of town to go to a monster truck event. The furthest I've ever went, I think, was Ukiah. Or for any race or motorsports event. We've taken them to racing up in Calistoga and, Sears Point or Sonoma Race or whatever it's called now. But I've never stayed the night there to go to an event. I've always gone within driving distance and come back. So I think anything that we do put money into or advertising dollars into, I think it should really be focused on bringing people into the area and staying overnight and using our restaurants, our hotels, and all the other great things we have here.
Such as sporting events, such as country summer, maybe, just a 3-day event.
My issue, country summer is good and we get exposure and all that, and I like country summer, don't get me wrong. The problem I have with country summer is it's on a weekend that we're gonna sell out anyways.
It's on a new weekend this year.
Right, but it's still in what, June or July,
It's the last weekend of June in 2025.
which I mean, typically, as far as my hotel goes, and I'm just speaking for my hotel personally, the summer weekends were busy. If it was in February, oh, let's give them every penny we have, but I don't know, I also, I guess, brings to the point, focus on downtime, winter, when we're not turning people away. And it's good too, even though it's in June or July, because we can raise the rates up, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing or whatever, I'm just saying I would. Maybe if it was on a weekend where we weren't gonna be sold out already anyways, that would be better, but I understand it's country summer, not country fall, or country winter,
Janelle, anything else you want to add regarding other ideas, thoughts?
Well, I do like the idea of, so we don't really do marketing. I mean, we do tons of marketing campaigns for like meetings and then leisure, the different types of leisure activities, from our beer passport to, outdoor type adventures, food, now cannabis. Anyway, and then we do, like I said, meetings, so group, yeah, but not like, we don't really do marketing campaigns for like large events, like to get a new, I don't know, festival here or something like that. So I do think it'd be interesting to, kind of put our heads together on, how we do that, because our main way of doing that is Lindsay going out and it's really like her just going to different events and meeting with meeting planners and trying to talk about Santa Rosa and why they should have their events here. And we are not really set up for a lot of types of events that I think come to her because of some of the limitations that we have with the size of our hotels. So she's for the most part going to like small meetings type trade shows. So we're definitely open to trying new things and maybe going, looking at the marketing campaigns that you guys are doing and making those a little bit more robust, or like putting some money together, or I think that'd be a good conversation. I know, and maybe just meeting more regularly on the different campaigns that we're already running.
Another suggestion
Outside
too,
of Another
suggestion could be,
sorry.
sorry. I mean to cut you off.
No, I'm done.
Oh, I was just gonna say that another suggestion could be that maybe at our future meetings, we have a member from Business Santa Rosa come to present an update on activities, where they've been in terms of sales, advertising Santa Rosa, promoting Santa Rosa and such. If you'd be interested in hearing something like that, which I think that's something that we used to listen to when we attended those Business Santa Rosa board.
I agree, I think that would be a good thing. Maybe even see what Sonoma, or throw in there what Sonoma County tourism, or Sonoma County is doing as well. I don't think doing the same thing that other organizations are already doing is completely beneficial. You know, I think if we could find our own niche, so to speak, that might not be a bad idea.
Donna?
What became of there was some talk a couple years back about a sporting event center that they wanted to put in this area?
I don't have any updates.
I mean, I don't-
Other than what we've seen in
Remember
the
that
paper.
Yeah, I remember,
Was that before COVID?
it was before COVID.
By the convention
Yeah,
center.
They were talking about building a sports complex. I believe it was Visit Santa Rosa did a feasibility study, I believe, don't quote me on it.
On the site and
Yeah, whether or not it would be, and I don't remember if it got to, they were reaching out for investor stage or not, and that didn't happen. I'm not sure. But for some reason, it never.
yeah, I just never heard any more about it.
I know they were looking at areas, I know they went out there and were looking at places to do it. Place to play was an issue because of the lights.
Oh, okay.
And it seemed to me they had another location out off of Fulton, I think. I don't remember.
I just didn't know if anything was ever mentioned or if you heard anything or.
Through the chair, we could bring an update back on that. We can also modify the agenda to include a partner report section as well. Also gives opportunity, like, rather than pigeonholing like Lindsay into only the public comment section, if we had a partner report out section, might allow for some, you know, more meaningful
Correct.
dialogue. So we can do that.
Yeah, it would be good to have like Sonoma County Tourism who's more involved in that, or
Exactly.
yeah, we're just not that involved in those conversations right now. It's kind of moved over to Sonoma County Tourism from what I understand. So might be nice to have them come to one of our meetings though and give an update. I think that would be.
Yeah, but these are definitely some of the modifications that we can begin making in 2025, for example. All right, I'd like to open it up for public comments. Lindsay.
So our quarterly stakeholder meetings that happen, so our next one will be in January of 2025. And we previously just had one in October.
Yeah.
Report out on everything that you are asking for. And I know, and you are all included on it, and you can participate via Zoom or in person, and we try to hold them at our hotel partners that have meeting space. And so we talk about our last, Madden Media comes and reports on our marketing efforts, PR reports on where we've been featured in articles. I report out on the conferences I've attended, who I've spoken with, if we've, a couple of immediate leads that come from there. We talk about our social media, we talk about website traffic, we talk about all of those. Sonoma County Tourism is also invited to attend those. Sonoma County Tourism holds regular meetings as well. Their next one for the Sonoma County Tourism Sales is, I believe, the 12th or 13th of December at 3 o'clock at SCT. And I know, again, it's like this, it's open to the public to participate and attend. I'm not saying we can't have also those conversations here. I'm just saying those are also actively already happening. As far as a sporting complex, I have not come across any information on that specifically. And then yes, SCT is obviously actively pursuing the convention center. Todd, you mentioned leads. I can tell you from my first year, lead inquiries on the VSR site specifically were very, very minimal. Leads have increased this year. Some of the leads that I've, gotten requests for are, restaurants that have, that can have AV capabilities, or I'm local looking for a venue that can house 800 people for a wedding. Like that is, I was like, the fairgrounds?
Hey, good luck with that.
You know, or we had a legal organization reach out, they'll be coming in May of 2025. And they need 270 plus rooms plus meeting space, and they're gonna be doing a walking tour like every day around the city and looking at our public parks and like automatically that narrows it down to 2 hotels, you know? So even with my efforts in going to several conferences this fall, you know, small market meetings out of St. George is really where our market is because of our limited meeting space currently and our limited hotel offerings. So when it comes to those kind of leads, we are in a very kind of tight position as far as like weddings or sporting events. They're just not the same as they used to be.
No,
Or to your point, they wanna have events on weekends that are already popular, right? And we're already impacted. No, nobody wants to come and have an outdoor event in February.
what's wrong with it?
Any further discussion? Seeing that there's none, I'll move on to last item, which is 6.4, 2024 annual report and 2025 work plan update. So if you may recall, at the September meeting, I provided an update and said that the Business Center Rosa team will be taking a lead on the annual report and work plan. And I will be submitting in the next couple of weeks, or in less than 2 weeks, our update related to the activities during 2024 and what the work plan looks like. But I also wanted to bring it up to the board to see what other things we would like to see as part of the work plan for 2025. And fortunately, I didn't bring a copy of the report so you can see what was detailed in there for 2024. Yeah, right, the work plan for 2024. And I mean, the Business Center Rosa folks definitely cover one entire sheet with activities that they plan ahead. But I wanted to know if you had any input regarding what would you like to see for 2025 from that report.
For this one or Business Center Rosa?
Or the annual report that we
In the city?
well, it's a combined report between Business Center Rosa and the city, where we detail what activities occurred, DOT data. I also spent time on trends, tourism indicators, ADRs, hotel occupancy, travel impacts, and so on.
Nothing new that I can think of. I'm assuming it's pretty much the same as previous years.
Janelle, any
I
updates?
was just I was planning to use more of the information that we do provide in our stakeholder reports quarterly. Yeah, so kind of like a recap on everything that our sales and marketing, but just I think if you guys have looked at those, I was just kind of that was my plan. I think I've said this before, which I don't know why we were doing this. We were providing like lists of every single media mention. I don't think we need that. But we need like a recap of how many media mentions for the year and some of the standout ones. And then providing more photos, images of some of the marketing campaigns that we've been running. Also, like showing like our new visitor guide. Can you see it? Just came out, hot off the press, stuff like that. Just more images of kind of like we do in our our PowerPoint presentations for our stakeholder meetings. So if Donna or Todd or anyone has seen those, and if there's anything in there that you want to see more of or don't want to see, definitely let us know.
Yeah, and if you don't have any thoughts or ideas at the moment, you can also email me or email Janelle and incorporate those into the report as well.
Just a reminder, when are we planning to have that complete? That next one?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm thinking
I thought
about.
it was like Q2.
Yeah, sometime at the end of January, possibly, it'd be good to maybe read that. What do you?
To have it done, or so I had it on my calendar that we were going to start meeting about it in Q1. But I could.
By end of Q1.
At the end of Q1.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. So we'd start meeting in January, start compiling the data, and then have it ready to go by the end of Q1. Yeah. That sounds good.
Excellent. Public comments?
I mean, the only addition I have is that, Janelle and I, based off of one of our very earlier conversations, have created, kind of just a rough outline, and I know that that had been shared over to you guys just to have a look at and make sure that we're kind of hitting kind of the high level areas that we wanted to, have in addition to what previously has been provided, so, but yeah, I mean, I'll be gathering all data.
Okay. Thank you. All right, well, that leads us to our next item, which is
Department reports.
department reports.
I have a couple of reports, Chair. Just a few things to update on. Doing some research, it looks as though this body is missing bylaws. So we will be drafting a set of bylaws to put forth to City Council for ratification. It's more of a sort of perfunctory, is that even a word? Sort of a function that seems to be missing just from a logistics perspective, needing to have bylaws to address how you handle emergency meetings, if an emergency meeting needs to come up, et cetera. And it'll be very similar to bylaws that exist for other bodies within the city, other organizations. So we'll start working on that. And then potential ordinance changes. The ordinance is now pushing 15 years old. And staff's been looking at whether or not there needs to be any modifications or changes to update the ordinance. So if the board members have any input on that, we are soliciting feedback and likely would take any proposed ordinance changes and bylaws to the city council at the same time. That's all I have on that.
Thank you, Scott.
Have any other department reports?
Great, thank you. So yeah, just hang on to the ordinance, review it during free time, and again, if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to email myself or Janelle.
Would we see a copy of those proposed changes before it goes to city council?
I imagine you would see some sort of a draft, but we don't have a timeline yet exactly as to when that's gonna happen. So it's nothing happening soon, I can tell you that. So
Not next meeting.
2025 goal is to get the bylaws and the ordinance all updated.
All right, well, that will leads us to during the meeting. Thank you all for coming and have happy holidays. It was great to see you again. I look forward to seeing you in 2025.
See you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thanks, Janelle.